And welcome to the Georgia Southern Postgame Wrap-Up Show. I'm Josh Aubrey, being joined by Mike Anthony, sports editor and Georgia Southern beat writer for the Statesboro Herald. Mike, the Georgia Southern Eagles on the short end of a 33-26 loss to Lafayette. Lafayette came in here averaging right around 19 points per game, only scored 13 points last week at home against Idaho, who's one of the worst defensive teams around. You wouldn't think coming to Georgia Southern they'd be able to hang that many points on the scoreboard, but they do. Georgia Southern comes back but falls short by a touchdown. Your thoughts on this game as the Eagles are now in a must-win situation to finish off the season in order to be bowl eligible?
This one really a different story than a couple of weeks ago against App State, again on a Thursday night at Paulson Stadium. In that game 2 weeks ago, the Georgia Southern offense wasn't able to get going after it had failed so many times. It kind of left its defense on the field too long. They tired out. App State was able to come back, roll up some points at the end, and run away. This time, the script was flipped a little bit. You had Georgia Southern down to its third-string quarterback in Seth Schumann, a true freshman. Everybody knew that was the case going in on the team anyways, so you have to figure that the defense knew that it was going to have to do something to help out its freshman quarterback. Instead, they go out there and just give up big play after big play, can't get off the field on third downs. They give up a few points in the first half, and really the worst part of it was the final drive there at the end of the second half, or end of the first half, end of the second quarter, when Georgia Southern had scored to pull within a single point, just barely over a minute left, only to kick it off, watch UL Lafayette drive down the field in a minute and 5 seconds, score a touchdown, take all the momentum into halftime.
So they take all the momentum into halftime, and then the second half opens up. Georgia Southern can't move the ball on offense. Then on defense, they give up a field goal, followed by a wide-open touchdown, which was kind of the final nail in the coffin.
I guess maybe a little bit of a trick play. A guy not used to throwing the ball is out there, and he finds a receiver wide open after the defense had sold out on trying to defend the run there. So that really puts Georgia Southern in a hole. That's where they couldn't afford to be. Again, with a freshman quarterback, he can only do so much for you. And Seth Schumann, he looked better tonight. He made some key passes, converted some key third downs, made a few plays with his feet while not quite the mobile guy that Kevin Ellison or Fabian Upshaw is. I think he did enough to get the win based on what you would think the defense was able to do. Unfortunately, as we've seen so many times this season, not able to get a full effort from all three aspects of the game for Georgia Southern.
All right, well, let's get out and take a look at some of the highlights from Georgia Southern and Lafayette. A rare Thursday night homecoming matchup for Georgia Southern before a relatively small crowd at Paulson Stadium as the Eagles host Lafayette. Things not looking good from the start. Fabian Upshaw, Kevin Ellison, and Wesley Fields all out with injuries. Freshman Seth Schumann gets the start and tries to mount a charge, hitting Miles Campbell here for a first down. That drive stalls. Youngwei Koo good from 39 yards out, 3-0 Eagles. The Raging Cajuns get into Eagle territory. Quarterback Dion Ray will fight his way just shy of the goal line. From there, Elijah McGuire breaks the plane for the touchdown, and Lafayette grabs a 7-3 lead. On their next drive, Anthony Jennings to Gary Haynes deep into Eagle territory, tack on 15 more for the Georgia Southern personal foul. Tyson Summers questioning that one as we go to the second, but the defense able to come up with a rare big play as Ironhead Gallen and Monquavian Brinson knock the ball loose. It's recovered by Joshua Moon. The Eagle offense able to move downfield as Seth Schumann hits B.J. Johnson. He'd finished the game with 127 yards receiving. Schumann and Johnson would hook up again moments later for another first down, but the Eagle offensive woes in the red zone continue, having to settle for another Koo field goal to cut the lead to 7-6. Meanwhile, ULL able to drive 75 yards on 11 plays, capping it with a 16-yard Ray Dion touchdown, and it's 14-6. The Eagles try an answer before the half, another Schumann to Johnson first down, and then it's Schumann finding Miles Campbell across the middle to cut the lead to 14-13 with just over a minute to go in the half. But that's when the Raging Cajuns start looking like the New England Patriots marching downfield. They'd go 92 yards on only 6 plays, taking 1 minute and 5 seconds in the process, and capping the drive, it's Jennings going 10 yards himself for the score. And what momentum the Eagles had was gone as Lafayette extends their lead to 21-13 at the half. The second half starts with more points for the visitors. The 30-yard field goal from Stephen Artigue made it 24-13. The Eagle offense able to manage just 52 total yards rushing on 28 attempts. Lafayette tacks on this touchdown pass from Al Riles to a wide open Keenan Bowen. And just like that, it's 31-13. Schumann trying to lead a comeback for the Eagles as he hits Monte Crockett for a first down. We go to the third with the Eagles trailing by 18. And unfortunately, if a comeback would occur, hardly anyone left at Paulson Stadium to start the fourth quarter to see it. The Eagles would add a 1-yard L.A. Ransby touchdown to cut the lead to 14 as the 2-point conversion was run back for a score by Lafayette. With about 4.5 minutes to go, special teams helps with the block punt, which is scooped up alertly by Ironhood Gallen, who gets all the way down, streaking down the sidelines to the 2-yard line. That would lead to another Ransby touchdown, but it was too little, too late as the Eagles fall 33-26.
We're Kyle and Jared Lott of Smack TV.
Each week we go into millions of homes to show you great hunting.
And we couldn't do what we do without TC Outdoors doing what they do.
It doesn't matter if your adventure takes you fishing in the local pond or on a cross-country hunt.
TC Outdoors is going to be there for you with gear, know-how, and support, just like they are for us.
They've been here for years. We know them.
And we trust them.
So come by TC Outdoors on Northside Drive. Tell them Jared and Kyle sent you.
And after the game, we had a chance to talk with Coach and some of the players about the loss to Lafayette.
You know, it was a tough loss, but we came out here and we fought hard. You know, we just got to go in the meeting room and film room and just fix some things and come out here and practice hard next week. You know, our job as offense is to keep the defense up. So, you know, they made plays and we made plays, and also vice versa, where we didn't make enough plays, you know, and they didn't. So it's a team loss, and we're going to take it for what it is and go back to work. I know definitely frustration, but, you know, our heads are still where it needs to be. You know, we got 2 more games left, and we win those 2 games, we're bowl eligible, so nobody's hanging their head. I mean, we're hanging our heads now, but, you know, come tomorrow, we know we got to prepare for Georgia State.
It's very frustrating, but like I said, we just got to get better, look at the film, and get ready for next week against Georgia State. It's frustrating, but we continue to fight. Even when everybody doubts us, we continue to fight to the end, and we're just going to look forward to next week and continue to play. Like I said, we still got a bowl game if we get these last 2 wins, so that's what we're looking forward to right now.
It's a tough loss. You know, ULL, they're a great team, and right now our backs are against the wall, and we know we have to go out and get these next 2 wins. You know, they just came out and executed. They did a great job of executing, and, you know, defensively we just had to go ahead and make our adjustments for the second half. We did a great job of doing that. But, you know, it's tough. You know, it's very tough, but we know that we have to go out there and give it our all. You know, these next couple of weeks we have to go out and get these next 2 wins so we become bowl eligible.
Proud of our players for the way they continue to fight, the way that we continue to, you know, there's a point in time during that game where we're down by multiple scores, and we continue to come back in the second half, put ourselves in position to at least have an opportunity to win the game and be in it. And again, didn't have things go our way, unfortunately. I am very proud of, again, our players and their fight and their toughness and the way that they're trying to work through some of these things. A couple things to sit here and talk about from an offensive standpoint. You know, again, we knew going in to today, you know, that again we wouldn't be able to sit there and have some of the things that we'd like to be able to have. Our offense is based around being able to run the ball and being able to sit there and have some of the option looks that we've got, and obviously not being able to have some of those things tonight. Looks early on that were you know, very difficult for us to be able to run into. Made an adjustment, decided to try to throw the ball, and a lot of that came once we were down by a number of scores, and we're trying to be able to give ourselves a chance to get caught up at the same time. I do think that our receivers played well. I do think that we had a good game plan put together to give us a chance to be successful. in both areas. Defensively, from a consistency standpoint, we didn't give ourselves a chance because we didn't stop the run with any amount of consistency, and that's more than frustrating. Obviously, the quarterback Jennings had a lot of yards and averaged almost 10 yards a rush. And that becomes the frustrating part. A number of different times and opportunities, that we've got to be able to get him down, and we're not able to, and that becomes the tough part of it. The other negative behind that is because even with some pressure, we really weren't able to get any amount of pressure on the guy. Not ones that were able to sit there and keep him from being able to throw the ball downfield. We've talked about it a lot. The last couple of weeks and goals and things that we've got to be able to do, and that's try to keep a mobile quarterback and a guy that can throw the ball. You've got to keep those guys uncomfortable. I don't know that we were able to do that tonight to our best ability, and we've got to do a better job to help our secondary with some disguises and some looks like that we've tried to be able to help ourselves with. From the other end of it, again, a couple of different things in the game that are things to kind of go over. Really felt like looking back through the game as best I can. The end of the first half, the drive we score, with the minute 18 left, and wind up letting them turn around and be able to score on us, and that is. That doesn't give us a chance to be successful, particularly when you start talking about losing the game by 7 points. That drive and going into the halftime with some of the ways that we did just put us in a bind, and we had to be able to sit there. And I do think our kids played extremely hard in the second half and fought their tails off to be able to catch up from behind it. Some questionable things that I'm sure I'll get asked about is obviously. We'll start with the 2-point play. At that point in time, we were up 12 points. We go through a swinging gate for an intentional piece to be able to look at numbers and have counts that we had, and again had seen it already previously through the game, and we had felt like we had the right call, felt like we had the right opportunity down by 12. Obviously, if you're not in a position to get it. If you are, you're trying to take the game now down to 10 points, and if you don't, then obviously you're right back at 14, which is what happened for us. Didn't execute the way we would like for it to, and hurt us from a momentum standpoint as much as anything. And really, again, that falls on me. From the fake punt, again, early on, as we sat there and we're trying to look at different looks that we have, we try to carry those things into each week based off of different formations and looks. Felt like it was there, and certainly was a good job of Ross and Flynn being able to execute it. And again, I felt like in the third quarter, the fake punt was a situation that gave us a lot of momentum and started being able to give us a little bit of energy from the sideline. And so anyway, those are a couple of different things throughout the game that wound up happening. I will go ahead and say again, just didn't handle everything the way we would like to in a first class manner. From how we handle ourselves, and I don't want anybody to sit here and think that what happened in the post game, there was no part of anybody, in our football staff or our players or our coaches or administration in any type of way were trying to be rude or disrespectful to the band in any shape or form. I don't want anybody to think that. We typically try to sit there and have a moment on the 50-yard line after the game. There was a couple different pods of guys where tempers were starting to flare, and the truth of the matter was we were just trying to get people off the field. We didn't want there to be a safety issue, and we certainly didn't want to look up and have where we weren't handling ourselves with the right amount of class. We certainly were not trying to be rude or disrespectful to our fan base or to or certainly to our band. But I'm very apologetic either way for how that finished up. And again, those are things that'll fall on me on anything that comes up. But I did want to make sure that I mentioned that again, and I do apologize. With that, I'll answer any questions anybody's got.
Coach, this is a team that was only averaging 19 points a game. They only scored 13 last week against Idaho, who's not a very good defensive team.
Yes, sir.
And they scored 33 against you guys. That drive there at the end of the first half, they just went down the field like that.
Yes, sir.
Is there Can you put your finger on what happened tonight?
Well, I'll tell you what, really, the biggest thing is I felt like we were sitting there all night long, and I know that, Josh, you and I have talked about this before. I mean, we start every drive defensively between the 245s. And that was, we talking about being in a field possession game where you got to be able to get some first downs at some point in time to be able to get you out of being backed up and punting inside your own 15 or your 20, or trying to get a punt, that may be able to go 40 or 50 to be able to get you flipped at some point in time. And I felt like we sat there and played the entire game where every possession for our offense started inside the 20, it felt like, and every possession for our defense was starting in between the 245. So what happens to you is when you look up and you got a guy and a mobile quarterback like him, and he's able to sit there and create some things, and you miss a tackle here or there, one first down, and you feel like you've about let somebody in field goal range. And between that and, again, some of the looks that they had for us, they took some shots earlier on in the game, with the ball and being able to try to go at some of the receivers. And we had some penalties. And some of the penalties, again, created some of the issue early on. And sometimes it becomes, missed tackles, things of fundamental natures, that come up in the second half. But I would start with that. We don't feel like really, other than, again, with the exception of one or two drives, I don't felt like we made them go the field. I felt like they were sitting there in a position to be on a short field all day. And if we can't get the field flipped and we can't sit there and play the kind of game that we want to, then we give our defense a really hard time.
You mentioned to us that Seth is a lot better runner than we've seen. It seemed like he was hesitant to run on the reads, and that kind of left people like Matt Breida high and dry because they knew he wasn't going to run the ball.
Well, I don't have any idea if Matt Breida's high and dry, but I
he was
think
14 carries for 18 yards.
Sure. Well, we weren't able to run the ball, like I said earlier, with any effectiveness. But part of what kind of wound up happening with Seth. Seth had two different things happen to him. He had both an elbow and he had a knee tonight, and so the elbow and the knee, and trying to be able to keep him in. Obviously we're limited in numbers and people that have playing experience at the quarterback position going into the night. And as we went into it, he started off with an elbow injury. If I remember correctly, it was either the second or the third series of the game. And so that limited some of the ability to be able to run some of the read stuff that you talk about. And then if I remember correctly, again, it was the first series of the second half or the second, he wound up with a knee injury. And trying to be able to go finish those two things. And again, that's really what wound up being created as much as anything, with his inability to be able to run some of the read stuff.
Coach, you mentioned about the awkward ending of the game, and it looked like there were a lot of emotions going on out there on the field with a lot of the seniors wanting to kind of join the band for the alma mater.
Yes, sir.
There was a lot of emotions going into the locker room.
Sure.
Is that been squashed? Is everything?
I think we're fine. I spoke to the team whenever we got done. There was not anybody when we walked out of there that was in a mindset of any type of negativity or anything like that. That's not how I felt walking out of there. I talked to a number of them, obviously, before I got up here to come up here and speak with you guys. They're emotional. They're upset. They're frustrated. And certainly I am too. And again, kind of my message to them is we don't need one mistake to wind up turning into 5 or 6, and we've got to be able to hold ourselves with a little bit of poise and some composure. And again, what I told them was very similar to what I told y'all earlier. It was just everybody's, we're frustrated, upset. I don't want anybody to sit here and think that there was anything disrespectful intended. That was not it. I think that our players know my mindset, know how I care about Georgia Southern, and know that I care about them. I wouldn't intentionally try to put them or anybody else in a harmful situation, and so I think that we're fine. Like I said, we walked out of there, and I spent another 10 or 15 minutes with them, and I didn't get the impression that that was an issue.
All right, Mike, so now Georgia Southern's going to have to put this loss behind them. They've got a couple extra days, the way the schedule works out, to get ready for a road trip on the road to Georgia State, a team that I know that they'd really like to beat, not only for the fact that they need these 2 wins, but also from last year's loss.
But yeah, bye week coming up. The Eagles certainly need it. The first true bye week of the entire season. They've had a couple of 10-day layovers between games. This will be the first time that they really get 2 weeks, and judging by who was on the field and more importantly who wasn't on the field on Thursday night, they're going to need every bit of that resting time to just regroup physically, mentally. I know that they want to get back at Georgia State for last year's loss, but more importantly, they need 2 wins. That's the only thing that gets them to a bowl game. I know that's how the seniors want to go out, especially after all they've done to make this transition up into the FBS a successful one. It would be very nice if they could finally finish it on top, or at least in a bowl game.
All right, so the Eagles very banged up. We have a chance now to maybe heal up before they go to Atlanta in a couple of weeks. For Mike Anthony, I'm Josh Aubrey. Thanks for joining us. Hope to see you again soon.